Hello everyone, this is Q-Learning Survey Project update number 4. This week we only had one update, but it was a strong one. Hamna created a benchmark coverage heatmap version 0. The key theme this week is that benchmark analysis should not only ask which method performs best, before that we need to ask which comparisons are actually supported by the evidence. This week, Hamna turned the benchmark coverage issue into a concrete artifact. The heat map is built from the survey's existing Atari benchmark tables. It shows which algorithms reported results on which game categories and where the table has missing entries. This matters because missing entries can quietly distort how readers interpret a benchmark table. A table can look like a leaderboard, but if many algorithms were not evaluated on the same games, then the comparison is not fully fair. So the main contribution is structural. The heat map tells us which comparisons are possible before we start interpreting performance. A key distinction in this work is that coverage is not the same as performance. If a paper reports a score of 0 on Montezuma's Revenge, that still counts as coverage. It means the method was tested and failed, which is useful information. But if the table contains a dash, that is different. A dash means there's no comparable score in the table. We cannot say the method succeeded or failed. We simply do not know from the current evidence. This distinction is important because the reported 0 and the missing entry can look similarly weak at first glance, but scientifically they mean very different things. The heat map gives us several useful findings. First, some older full suite methods, especially distribution methods such as C51, Cura, DQN, IQN, and FQF, have much more complete coverage in Atari tables. That means these methods are easier to compare fairly within the current benchmark section. Second, newer or more specialized methods may have much lower Atari coverage, but that does not necessarily mean these methods are worse. It may mean they were evaluated on different environments, such as classic control, Min Atari, Meta Drive, or other task families. Third, some of the most informative categories, such as sparse reward games, stochastic games, and partially observable settings, are also the places where missing entries matter most. These are exactly the settings where Q-learning methods may reveal their strengths or weaknesses. So the coverage gaps themselves become a survey insight. Now, for version 1, my suggestion is not to overload the heat map. The current color scale already has a clear meaning: 0 out of 2, 1 out of 2, or 2 out of 2 games covered. Instead, we can add a second layer using markers inside the cells. For example, a field circle could mean the score was reported in the original paper. A triangle could mean the score is available only from follow-up work or re-implementation. A blank cell would still mean missing from the current table. This way, color answers one question: how much coverage do we have? The marker answers another question: where does the evidence come from? That keeps the figure simple while making it more informative. Now, the heat map has a clear path into the manuscript. In section 5a, the Atari benchmark section, it can become a coverage and comparability subsection. We only need a short explanation of the counting rule and a short summary of the findings. Then, later, the same logic can motivate section 5b, the beyond Atari benchmark section. If the Atari table shows fragmented coverage, that naturally leads to the broader question: what benchmark ecosystems do different Q-learning families actually use? For example, offline IL may rely more on default IL, multi-agent IL may rely more on SMAC, continuous control on Mujoko or robotics tasks, and language Q-learning on text generation benchmarks. So Heatmap is not just a figure, it helps connect the Atari analysis to the broader benchmark story. Finally, the immediate next step is to spot check the hand-transcribed cells. Since the heatmap comes from existing tables, accuracy matters. Then we can decide whether V1 should include evidence source markers. After that, protocol metadata can be added: training frames, seeds, sticky actions, no op stars, and evaluation settings. For the manuscript, we probably do not need a long section yet. 2 clear paragraphs may be enough. One explaining the counting rule and one explaining the main findings. The bigger message is that the benchmark section is becoming less like a leaderboard and more like an evidence map. This is exactly the direction we want for a rigorous survey. Thank you for listening.